One day, the government will fall, and we will be left to our own devices. It's in that state where men will become animals. It's where people's truest self will be revealed. The question I'd like to ask you is, who do you become when you don't care about the consequence? In other words, are you really a good person?
Turns out I'm not a good man. I've murdered lots of people. I've stolen from the poor. I've kicked babies like they were footballs. But this technically all happened in a game. Peterson argues that
Is jacking off gay? Of course not. So why would sucking on your own penis be gay?
the way you act in a fictional realm shows you what you're capable of becoming. And so I played Fallout New Vegas as if the person I became in that world showed me the person I would become if the world went to shit. If you don't know what the game is, let me introduce you to Absolute Beauty. It's a post-apocalyptic game that takes place 200 years in the future.
I can't look away, it's too good!
There is an entire resource war where resources get more and more limited, and the iPhone is never invented, so people get really upset by that and start nuking each other. So yeah, and it takes place in a Las Vegas that has been relatively untouched. It's full of raiders, cops, prostitutes. Actually, it's very similar to current day Las Vegas. You play a courier where your only goal is to find the man that shot and left you for dead. And so I wanted to be the purest version of myself, and I told myself, oh, I'm gonna be a good guy. I'm gonna be a good old fucking cowboy. Yeehaw! Let me tell you about how the game actually revealed a lot about my personality. So I drank in the game, like a lot. Too much? No such thing. I actually beat my children with pride.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
I loved alcohol so much, I purposely had a companion I brought around everywhere, because when I drink with her, I get no hangover. In the real world, I just drink a whole bottle and let God decide if I get to come home that day.
Woo! Maybe I'm a little drunk. I'm not actually, I'm just kidding. But wouldn't it be so funny if I was drinking and driving and also recording a video?
I'm also surprisingly persistent where through any tough challenge, I forced myself to go through it. For example, I fucking spent an entire hour, a real world hour, defeating an entire family of Deathclaws, which in this world are the apex predators of the apex predators. And I only did it because I found out you could have sex with a redhead at the end of it. After saying it out loud, I'm realizing it's a lot more complicated than that, where I actually found out this clan of people living in a sewer who have this animal fighting ring where they let anybody go in and fight animals. So I was like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna go beat the shit out of these animals. And then I start getting stronger and stronger animals to fight against. And the leader of this clan, the redhead, is like, hey, do you want to prove you're really strong? Go out into the wasteland and find us more eggs so we can start breeding more animals for you to fight. And I do it, and I do it, and I do it. And then I come home, I defeat the Deathclaws, and she's like, hey, you're objectively the strongest man we know. Do you want to have sex? Of course I do. That's what I did this for, bitch. And then I'm realizing now, that's pretty shallow. She only wanted to have sex with me after I defeated these Deathclaws. And you know what? She didn't even get to know my name, and the sex wasn't even that good. I barely remember it. I just wanted my character to not die a virgin, because you know what? I'm not a virgin.
Cool Guy Club.
I don't know if this joke is gonna land. So like I said, I started the game wanting to be good. And I realized I was going to have to put a lot of my skill points into charisma and guns. Because ideally, I wanted to be so charismatic I can talk my way out of fights. But obviously, when you're dealing with uncivilized people that don't care how charismatic you are, you need to at least have a gun to show that you don't fuck around. I mean, here, let me show you. I was going to walk into a store and point a fake gun at somebody, but I realized that's an actual felony.
So I completely forgot to record a transition for the next part, but this is basically the part where I wanted to break down my thought process that led me to become a mass murderer. So picture this. I just started playing the game and I meet my first enemy. Immediately, he started shooting at me and I realized, oh, he's not gonna let me talk it out. Okay, I guess I need to kill you. I'm sorry. It's me or you. And then I move on to the next guy. And the next guy, the same thing happens. And this plays out over the course of the entire game. Eventually, I started meeting people that would actually want to talk things out. But the more I got to know them, the more it felt like all they were doing was they were postponing my death. So then as I explored the wasteland more and got to know the people of it better, I started to keep an internal tally of the people that I thought should live and who shouldn't live. In the later parts of the game, I did something that I thought was completely justified. I went to every civilization that in my biased heart I thought was truly evil and there was no saving them, and I butchered them all. I've recently been reading the book Blood Meridian, which is based on a real group of cowboys that go around scalping natives just to make a living. And it made me realize something. I'm no better than the worst of us. And then eventually, I beat the game. And as soon as I'm done, I go to the internet to see how other people went through the game. And I found out that other people, through enough time and effort, were actually able to convince some of those tribes to be better people. And I realized, oh God, oh no, oh geez. And this is the aspect that really worries me. If I'm not careful enough, I'll gladly rob a person of a second chance. Who am I to decide who lives and who dies? I fucked up from that very first kill. Killing is never really an option. There is always a better alternative. But yeah, I hope this doesn't come off as too preachy where, you know, oh, don't kill, obviously, killing is bad. Oh, I'm just saying, this is something I learned about myself, where I learned no matter how tough life gets, I should never cross that line, because once I do, there's no coming back from that. And now, I ask you another question. Can you separate yourself from your video game character? I argue that in video games and Dungeons and Dragons, it's actually really hard to pretend to be someone else because characters have nuance. Like, you do a lot more of the things in a game that are true to your core self. Like, there's a reason why my video game character drank a lot. I drink so much, I have this bitch around with me all the time. I'm literally planning on buying a flask so I can drink on the job. If any of my coworkers are watching this, that was a joke. But yeah, I basically treat alcohol like my child. It's why it's hard to write well-written characters for TV shows and movies. You usually need a thing called talent. Not a lot though. I mean, a lot of movies like really suck. Writers typically tend to write in their own voice. It's why it's very hard to write a character that is more intelligent than you, funnier than you, more introverted, because you know yourself best. So the same thing goes in D&D and video games. A person who does not want to kill in the game won't do it because it goes against their truest self. Someone won't steal if it goes against their morals. And to take it to the extreme end, a person who won't rape won't do it in a game because that never comes to the table. But, you can argue it's just a game. People act completely differently from themselves because they know there are no real world consequences, and it's true. People play games to release stress, and nothing is more fucking fun than mowing down an entire population of people with a minigun in Grand Theft Auto, because it's a game. I'm not saying that playing video games makes you evil or desensitizes you to the evil deeds you do, but what I am saying is that when you're doing really atrocious things in a game, all you're doing is you're asking yourself, where do you draw the line? So I ask you my final question. Are you a good person? And how do you know that you're good? And yes, I know I asked you more than one question, but have you ever had a fresh baby placed on the floor? Do you know how hard it is to not kick the shit out of it, man? But how do you know that you're a good person if you probably haven't been given a lot of power? Now, I don't want to make judgments, but I'm gonna make a judgment. Most of you guys are kind of losers. Me too. I have not had a very interesting life. All I really do is jerk off, work on videos, and like, I have not had much power over other people. And I'm pretty sure you really haven't either. Like, that's just the sad truth. And that's okay. Because video games, as sad as it is, give us a level of power that really lets us analyze who our truest self would be. Like, imagine today you were suddenly blessed with loads of power, money, charm, political sway. How would that drastically change your personality and your morality? We all tell ourselves that we would be good, but history has consistently proven it wrong time after time, because people are flawed. People are just inherently selfish and horny, and that is just a bad combo to really have. I actively did my best to be a good person, but I still did a lot of things I'm not proud of at all. Video games are like the ultimate mirror, showing us the ugliest parts of our truest self. One day, we could all be tested and forced to live in a world where no one cares about the consequence. And it's in a world like that that truly reveals the worst parts of everyone. All right, I'm gonna go shit now.